This is how Jin Ping Mei is read. Chapter 44. The embroidered portrait version avoids the stable maid and steals the gold, plays chess with the beautiful lady and spends the night. The story version Wu Yunyang stays with Sister Li Gui. Simon King gets drunk and plays with Jia Hui'er 1. The 15th night of the first lunar month. This time it all happened on the night of the 15th day of the first lunar month. Strictly speaking, it was the aftermath of the previous story. After all, the matter of missing gold has not yet been resolved. In order to intersperse the visit of Mrs. Kiao Wu, the little story of lost gold is told in 2 parts. It is no wonder that The Plum in the Golden Vase does not have as wide a readership as The 3 Kingdoms, Water Margin, and Journey to the West. Compared with the vigorous life of heroic novels, such trivial stories, it's really not worth mentioning. However, in this book, I always advise readers again and again to pay attention to the details of the text and slowly read these seemingly ordinary stories as if they were experiencing their own lives, so that they will surely be able to read their uniqueness, discover their true beauty. That is unforgettable love. At the end of the last chapter, all the ladies of the court left the banquet and went home. At the beginning of this chapter, Wu Daguzi also left, and she agreed that the wives and concubines would go to her house for a banquet tomorrow, the 16th day of the first lunar month. At this time, Sister Li Gui and other prostitutes also came to say goodbye. Sister Li Gui and Wu Yin'er had been staying at Simon's house for 2 days. Dong Jiar and Han Yuchuan were at Lion Street the day before and only came to Simon's house on the 15th day. However, there was a difference between intimacy and distance, so Simon King let Dong and Han go back, leaving Li and Wu behind, in order to let them go to Wu Dejinzi's house to sing with them. The next day, Sister Li Gui was very depressed. It was her suggestion to go back, but she was the first to be left behind. However, Simon King spoke up, and she did not dare to disobey easily, so she had to keep her face down and say nothing. We all know that once someone in Jin Ping Mei is silent, he must have thousands of words in his heart. The author has laid a foreshadowing here. However, we might as well tell the story thoroughly first, so that we can easily understand the details of the context. We missed one detail during the 42nd chapter of Simon's Lion Street Lantern viewing. At that time, Simon King and Earl Ying saw Zaida and Shu Shinian accompanying a young man wearing a turban to the flower market in a restaurant. Simon King asked him who he was. The gangster Simon King also formally introduced this person to the readers as Wang Sangwan. Wang Sangwan is the son of Zhao Shuan Mansion and the son of Mrs. Lin. There will be many stories about him later, but his original identity is Simon King's love rival. At this time, he is whoring the goddaughter who was groomed by Simon King, Sister Li Gui. We can imagine that Wang Sangwan's real purpose of borrowing 300 taels from Mr. Zhu was probably for prostitution. We can also imagine that Sister Li Gui went back to the brothel because she knew Wang Sangwan was waiting for her too, staying overnight with Sister Li Gui. Since Sister Li Gui and Wu Yin'er are left behind, they have to write some stories. Last time, there was still unfinished business about the lost gold, so it just fits together. As a result, the boys quickly found the culprit who stole the gold, Jia Hui'er, the girl in Li Zhao's room. From the perspective of trial, this is an extremely simple case to restore the truth. At that time, Li Jiar and Meng Yulu went to Li Ping'er's room to see the official brother. The gold fell to the ground while playing, and Jia Hui'er accidentally picked it up. With evil thoughts and greed, she wanted to keep it for herself. Later, when I heard that, I wanted to buy a whip to beat the girl and find her whereabouts. I panicked and tried to escape, but was discovered by the boys. The sneaky girl was discovered, and the lost gold was found. It can be said that both the person and the person gained, because Jia Hui'er stole the gold unnoticed. Her owner Li Zhao ignored her own concerns. Instead of helping Jia Hui'er escape, she strongly drew a clear line. You thief slave, who asked you to come forward? You went out without knowing it. You just picked up the gold in his house, and you said something to me. What does this mean? On the surface it can be understood as, I didn't ask you to follow me. It has nothing to do with me. Even if you find gold, you should tell me so that I can help you hand it over to save you from being embarrassed and beaten now. However, this was obviously not Li Zhao's original intention, because Sister Li Gui quickly gave her a transparent explanation. You turned out to be a stupid boy. There was no one here, so you picked up some things and quietly handed them to your mother in the house. Just take them out so that he can save you. Why didn't you look at him and write a word, son? Is it okay to be beaten like this? As the saying goes, wear green clothes and heck hide you. I don't care if you are beaten like this. Light. From now on, you must be close to your mother's heart. You and him must be of the same mind in everything. No matter what you take, give it to him. This is Sister Li Gui educating Jia Huer, acting like a teacher to others. It's a long list, but in short, if you pick something up, you should give it to the owner instead of hiding it yourself, so that the owner can protect you when you are discovered. Very straightforward. It's not to teach others that they shouldn't do bad things, but to teach the girls that they should be united and form a group to do bad things. It doesn't matter if they do bad things. The important thing is not to get caught. It doesn't matter if they get caught. The important thing is that there is someone above. That's not all. Sister Li Gui also taught her aunt, you are not very handsome. If it were me, how could you teach him to beat the girl in my room to everyone? If you want, pull her into the room and wait for me to beat her. How come the girls in the front rooms are not beaten? It's just the girl in your room. You are easy to bully, but you don't have any breath in your nose and mouth? Why don't you really teach him to pull this girl out before tomorrow? Say, wait until I tell you. Don't teach him to teach others to laugh. Look at the Meng family and the Pan family. They are like foxes. How can you survive, even if you are clearly at fault? You must never let others bully you, even though you are clearly at fault. You insist that your opponents are Meng Yulu and Li Pinger. It's a pity that Sister Li Gui is a prostitute. It's a pity that Sister Li Gui can't advise Li Jiaoer. And it's a pity that Li Jiaoer he is quite dull and doesn't have much ambition. Otherwise version 3.0 of the competition for favors would be much more lively. Li Jiaoer didn't answer her niece's scoldings, but she learned a lot from the experience. After Simon King's death, when she and Li Mingli stole money by themselves, readers can understand these two gold thefts. Such a small story holds so much meaning. 3. Staying overnight with Wu Yin'er after dealing with Jia Huer, who stole the gold. Simon King, who was already 80% drunk, almost fell drunk between Li Pinger and Wu Yin'er, who stayed overnight. However, Li Pinger, who is now a mother, is no longer interested in playing those perverse sex games. So Simon King was given to Pan Jinlian as a gift. Counting carefully, this is already the first time since Li Pinger had a child. 3 times. Similarly, careful readers will also find that since Li Pinger had a child, the sex between Simon King and Pan Jinlian is just like this chapter, no longer described in detail. Just like Simon King and Wu Yunyang, Ming's sex in Yulu has never been described in detail. Only the cold and indifferent phrase go to bed and rest for the night is mentioned. What is this indicating? This explains Simon King's cold reception towards them. When Pan Jinlian was favored, the sexual text was delicate and full. When she fell out of favor, it was casual and simple. And the handling was very orderly. Have people who view Jin Ping Mei as a pornographic book thought about this? Next is a clip of a beautiful lady spending the night. Among the 3 main prostitutes described in Jin Ping Mei, Wu Yin'er is the oldest, Li Guiji is the second, and Zheng Aiyu is the youngest. Sister Li Gui is in front, and Zheng Aiyu is behind. They all had a lot of romance with Simon King, but Wu Yin'er never entered Simon King's world and just wandered around the edges of Simon's family. Strictly speaking, she was the darling of the former Simon King era, so at that time, the wealthy son-in-law Hua Zixu took care of her. After Hua Zixu's death, she gradually became associated with Sister Li Gui. The image described in the text is more intended to shadow Sister Li Gui or Li Pinger. After Li Guiji recognized her mother, Wu Yin'er also embarked on this road, and she was also the ex-wife of her old sweetheart, the deceased Hua Zixu. The theoretical love rival or sister became a verbal mother and daughter. For Wu Yin'er, being a generation younger is not a big deal. After all, her identity as a goddaughter will help her get more benefits. She can also walk with her head held high in the brothel, and she will have an extra shelter when something happens. As for Li Pinger, we certainly believe that she would not care about the service of a prostitute. Not to mention that there is an official brother here, who would want his son who will be an official in the future to have a prostitute as his sister. However, on this cold night, she took Wu Yin'er with her, played chess, drank wine, and chatted about household matters until the middle of the night. Nothing more than talking. She complained that she rarely slept with Simon King since she had a child. She complained that Simon King occasionally came to have a grudge with Pan Jinlian. She complained that Pan Jinlian attacked and instigated her from behind, fearing that their mother and son would not die, and that Simon's whole family would not die. Chaos. We always think that Li Pinger is loved by thousands of people, but she also has an unbearable weight in life. She can relieve her depression and sadness, and she can seek acquaintance and understanding, but she only relies on the prostitute goddaughter in front of her.
Alright, this part of the story ends here.
Want to know what happened next? Let's listen to the breakdown next time.